Alright guys, so today we're going to be talking about ethos, pathos, and logos. So, I don't know how you're probably pretty familiar with these topics, considering you're in AP1, but basically these are really important to the rhetorical analysis essays which we discussed in the previous video. These are basically going to be like your bread and butter. You're going to be using these to describe the, like, you're going to be using these a lot to describe the text you're given in your rhetorical analysis. Okay, so ethos, the ethical appeal, means to convince an audience of the author's credibility or character. So basically, an author would use ethos to show to his audience that he is a credible source. Ethos comes from the Greek word for character, and the word ethic is also derived from the word ethos. So, ethos can be developed by choosing language that is appropriate for the audience and topic. So, what you want to look for when you're looking for ethos, you want to pay attention to the vocabulary that the author uses, along with the level of the text. So if you're reading a text that's like a very high scientific article, you want to make sure that the author's using appropriate ethos. He has a proper level of vocabulary, he's making himself sound fair, unbiased, and he's showing off his expertise. And you also want to look for proper grammar and syntax. Basically, this is just looking at the types of words that the author uses to develop his own credibility. Okay, so the next one, pathos. Pathos is the emotional appeal, which is a means to persuade an audience by appealing to their emotions. So the audience would be you, the writer of the essay. So authors use pathos to invoke sympathy from an audience and to make the audience feel what the author wants them to feel. A common use of pathos is to draw pity from the audience or to inspire anger. And this is sometimes used to prompt action. And by that, it's you could you could use pathos in articles that are meant to persuade the reader to do something about some sort of injustice. A lot of times when those commercials on TV um are a good example of pathos. The ones that show the animals in shelters and show how they're mistreated and how they aren't being adopted. Those are very good examples of pathos because they appeal to the audience's emotions and I believe they usually try to get you to donate or to adopt an animal. And it seemingly it looks like it works. Okay, so pathos is the Greek word for suffering and experience, and the words empathy and pathetic are derived from the word pathos. And it can be developed by using meaningful language, emotional tone, emotion evoking examples, which we see in the example of the commercials, and stories of emotional events and implied meanings. So I feel like we can see a lot of examples of pathos in our everyday lives, like just by paying a little more attention. You could pick out these the use of pathos whether it's intentional or unintentional. Okay, so the final one is called logos. This is the appeal to logic, which is a means to convince an audience by use of logic or reason. So, to use logos would be to like cite facts or statistics or like historical texts or like literal analogies and or like even to cite like an authority on a subject. Like if you're writing about an article on like genetics, an an authority on that subject could be like a geneticist, and by citing him, you're in turn using logos. So logos is the Greek word for word, and the true definition goes beyond that, but it can be described as the word or that by which inward thought is expressed. And the inward thought itself is ratio. The word logic is derived from logos. Logos can be developed by using advanced theoretical or abstract language, citing facts, which is very important when using logos, using historical and literal analogies, and by constructing logical arguments. Basically, logos is just the use of like facts and whatnot to convince your audience, like true statements. So you need to be able to recognize all three of these, because in order to persuade an audience, the proper use of ethos, pathos, and logos is necessary. So you always need to be on the lookout for these, especially when you're writing a rhetorical analysis. Because a if you miss out on an example of ethos or pathos or logos, then it could really hurt you, because they tend to be a larger part of like the text that you're given in AP1. So yeah, these are the main things you'll be talking about in your rhetorical analysis, and alongside these, we'll also be looking at literary devices, which will come up in the next video.